Beginning of section 3.14 is taking us in a completely different direction. We're looking at inequalities. You probably remember this phrase a little bit from your previous experience in math, but just to recap, inequality symbols look like this. This one right here is the less than. This one is greater. If they have the lines underneath, then they could be equal also. Less or equal, and greater than or equal. I always had a hard time if there was a symbol out there and people asked if it was less or greater, I wouldn't be able to tell unless I could put something in front and behind it and read it from left to right. X is less than Y, and that's kind of how I was always able to tell without numbers what symbol I was looking at. We are really looking at solving inequalities, which is very similar to solving equations. Everything we do is just about exactly the same, except we have to observe two rules. The first rule is if you multiply both sides by a negative number, only a negative, and only if it's multiplying, then you have to flip the sign. The second rule is if you divide both sides by a negative number, then you have to flip the sign. I always ask people to challenge me on this and not just accept it for what it is. So I'm going to give you an example really quickly to show you why this works. If I have two numbers and I put them out and I want you to put a symbol in between these describing what is bigger than the other, I'm hoping that you would put this symbol, 2 is less than 3. If I were to take both sides and multiply them by -1, the numbers would become -2 and -3. And again, if I ask you to put a symbol in here to imply which one is greater than the other one, the symbol now would be open towards the -2. On the number line, -2 is higher than number -3. So you can see how this works. The flip the sign thing is necessary if you want to get the correct answer when you're solving inequalities. Here's an example right here. It's asking you to solve, and I put a line still down through the inequality symbol. I'm going to start by getting rid of my parentheses by distributing and simplifying both sides. The left side is 3x minus 12. The right side is 5x minus 10 minus 8. I can also combine these two like terms and simplify even further before I start making moves to solve this inequality for x. You have 4 different possible first moves here. We've talked about why I like to do what I do. I'm subtracting 3x from both sides. Doesn't mean that what you do, if it's different, is wrong. It's more of a preference thing. I'm going to add 18 to both sides. So I have 6 on the left, 2x on the right. My last step is to divide both sides by 2. I want you to notice that my symbols have stayed the same this whole time. It's still facing the same direction, and that's because I have not done either of the two rules. I have not multiplied or divided both sides by a negative number, so my symbol has not been flipped. I'm still not dividing both sides by a negative number, so I have now 3 is greater than x, which can also be expressed as x is less than 3. Both of these things mean the same thing, and I can express it either way as long as the symbol is opening up to the proper number. That's the thing that makes it consistent. My math lab will want you to put answers in the second way. I think they write x in there and you have to finish it out. Common error that people make on this is somewhere between the top and the bottom, they change that symbol to an equal sign and they forget it's an inequality. So keep an eye on that and try not to make that a thing that happens to you. The last page of the notes is a bunch of examples solving inequalities. Since we already went through an example that was pretty difficult, I'm going to go ahead and have you pause and do all 6 of these. And then when you unpause, I will have all of the answers so that you can check and see if you've done them correctly or not. So go ahead and pause it No. Okay, here are the results from the last 6 equations or inequalities. I'm just going to zoom in on 6 and 7 if you want to pause it and look at that. Zooming in on 8 and 9 if you want to pause and take a look at those two. And then 10 and 11. So this is supposed to be the word or. Make sure I wrote those all. Okay, if you have any questions, you can post them on Schoology. Good luck.